welcome to another edition of North Coast History and Haunts. In this episode, we return to Fewtown Road in Deerfield, Ohio, to once again explore the unsolved murders of 4 people that occurred in a single year. From 1993 to 1994, the bodies of Anthony Hussey, Lisa Waters, Kathryn Menedez, and Sarah Bame would all be discovered within a short distance of each other at this lonely, isolated spot. In part 1, we looked at the victims, and in part 2, we're going to look at the locations of where the bodies were found and some of the suspects. As we walk down Fewtown Road in the dark, we really get a sense of how really dark, lonely, and isolated Fewtown Road really is. And this is probably what it looked like on those sad fall days when these 4 people would lose their lives. Let's take a look at the locations where the bodies were found. So let's take a look at some locations here. This is Fewtown Road as it extends into Berlin Lake. It intersects with Watson Road and it forms kind of an L-shaped. Let's take a look at an inset map of Berlin Lake to kind of give you a better idea of exactly where we're talking about. The red circle is where we're at. So as you look at Fewtown Road and Watson Road, you can just see how really rural and isolated this place is. The yellow line indicates a single lane road that goes into the woods, and on the left used to be a boat ramp, but it's been since decommissioned. So the first location we're going to look at is where Lisa Waters and Anthony Hussey were both shot on November 6, 1993. They were sitting on that beach where that arrow's at. It was a warm fall night. They were sitting there talking and drinking beer. It was around 3 in the morning when a sniper shot them down from a bluff nearby, and we're going to take a look at that location in a minute. But one thing to take note of is to see how far down on Watson Road they were when they parked, so it would have been difficult for somebody to sneak up on them. I would think that they would have heard or seen a car if it was coming down the road toward them. So what does that mean? Does that mean the killer was there waiting for them? Did the killer know that they were going to be there that night? Or was there another means of escape? Those are all questions, of course, that we'll never have answers. This is the location where Lisa Waters and Anthony Hussey were killed. The next location we're going to take a look at is where the body of Kathryn Menedez was found. She had last been seen on October 21st, 1994. Her mother would report her missing, and her body would be found August 25th, 1994. And the arrow kind of indicates the general location. There's a side road that goes off there and terminates into an oil well. But maybe 100 yards down that little road on the left-hand side is the marker where Kathryn Menedez's body was discovered. And the next location we're going to look at is Sarah Bame. She was last seen leaving her house in Pennsylvania on July 14th in 1994. Her body would be discovered on November 4th of the same year by hunters. Nobody's sure how she got from Pennsylvania to Deerfield, Ohio, and was her death related to the other deaths. Her identity was unknown when her body was first discovered, and it would take a DNA match in 2003 to positively verify that this was the body of Sarah Bame. And the last location we're going to take a look at is where the body of Virginia Lecorchik was found after she was killed on July 10th in 1993. Her body would be discovered at a place called Willow Point Beach, and it's less than 3 miles away. Virginia would be murdered by a guy named Robert Moore, who would admit to the crime and ultimately do 15 years in prison for it. We're going to talk about him a little bit later in the video as well. And the first individual location we're going to take a look at is Kathryn Menedez. Her body was found on a little side road off of Fewtown Road. It was used to service the oil tank at the end of the trail. About 100 yards down, up on the left-hand side, there's a small rise of dirt. Just past that dirt is a circle of trees, and within those trees is where Kathryn Menedez was found on August 25th, 1994. Here we're going to take a look at the same location, only at night. So law enforcement had put reflective tacks in the trees to help identify the exact location of where these bodies were, and we're going to take a look at that here in a second. As you walk down the road, look for a small rise in the dirt. It's about 100 yards down to the left-hand side. If you shine your light in there, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Kind of see at the top of the screen what looks like just a little point of light. It's actually the reflector in the tree, so that marks the exact location where the body was
off the oil road, off Fewtown Road.
You can see exactly where Kathryn Menedez's body was found, right there. The next location we're going to take a look at here is going to be the spot where Lisa Waters and Anthony Hussey were killed. They were shot while on this beach. At this location, when a sniper would shoot them from behind with a .30-30 rifle at 3 o'clock in the morning in pitch darkness. So this would have been the vantage point. As we spin around here, we can see where the sharpshooter most likely shot from. We're going to show you that here in a second. And a high-powered rifle, the sound of the shot would echo across the lake. Everybody had to have heard that. So to think that the killer got away with it is frankly astounding. But this is the location where Lisa Waters and Anthony were killed on November 6, 1993. Next, we're going to take a look at the bluff where the shooter was standing when he shot Lisa and Anthony. As we walk toward the water's edge, the edge of the bluff, you can see how this would have afforded the shooter a perfect vantage point. Not only for getting a good shot, but for not being seen as well. This is what the shooter would have seen on that night when Anthony and Lisa were shot. And the last location we're going to look at here is where the body of Sarah Ray Bame was found. She was found at the end of Watson Road. And we're taking a look at this yellow pole. And this yellow pole is significant because it matches the map that was drawn by law enforcement, which details exactly where Sarah was found. If you look at the map, there's a yellow circle, and that's the metal poles referenced on the map. Now, the map itself is horribly out of scale, so if you're trying to make sense of it that way, it's probably not going to happen. But Sarah was found at the very end of Watson Road, 96 feet off of this yellow pole. We're going to walk to the exact location. And now we're going to take a look at some of the suspects. In the shooting of Lisa Waters and Anthony Hussey, the sheriff's department knew somebody had to be a really good shot. To shoot from that distance in the dark and hit two moving targets had to be somebody very proficient and very talented. And the police had a suspect in mind. There was somebody from Lisa's past, an old boyfriend, who had the skills as a marksman to be able to make the shot. He also had a motive and was known to be abusive. However, because the police never had any evidence, they could not charge anybody with the crime. The whole thing is even more egregious.
There's where Lisa and Andy
given the fact
were
that
shot,
Anthony's father
presumably
was a sheriff's deputy, and still no justice was ever found in the murder of Lisa Waters and Anthony Hussey. And the next thing we're going to take a look at are suspects in the murder of Kathryn Menedez. No real strong suspect came to the police's attention in her murder. Kathryn's mom did suggest that there were three potential suspects, including one with a violent past. However, all three refused polygraphs, and the police simply couldn't find enough evidence to arrest a suspect. Some people, however, have pointed the finger at this guy, Samuel Legg III. He was a long-haul truck driver, and he was arrested in 2019 in Arizona on unrelated murder charges in Ohio. He was also considered the primary suspect in the murder of his stepdaughter, Angela Hicks, in Elyria, Ohio in 1990. He was known to travel in the area of Berlin Lake and certainly would have been familiar with the area. He was brought to trial for the murder of the 9 women and was declared mentally incompetent and remains incarcerated to this day. However, he would have been free during the 1993 to 1994 period, where all these murders occurred. Next, we're going to take a look at the Sarah Ray Bame case. Sarah Ray Bame's case is unusual in the sense that she came from Pennsylvania, so that adds complexity to trying to resolve this issue. She didn't have a positive home life, and her parents were separated. Her father was living out of the house, and he would later be arrested for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl after Sarah's death, and it was known that he had an alcohol and gambling problem, and he passed away in Kansas in 2016. On his deathbed, he would claim to know nothing about Sarah Ray's death. However, shortly after her disappearance, her uncle would claim to find a letter under her pillow supposedly written by Sarah, addressed to whoever cares. However, her family would not immediately release the original letter to the authorities. Initially, they just gave them a photocopy. The police considered it suspicious because it looked like it was written in multiple colored inks and it looked like it had been pieced together. Also, there were over 5 sets of fingerprints on the letter, so clearly it was handed around and shown to many people within the Boehm family. Her brother would also change his story throughout the trial. And on the screen, you can see a copy of the letter that supposedly Sarah had written. Now, her mom would later say that her bed was made, and this letter was found under the pillow of her made bed, which was unusual for Sarah at the time. And if Sarah wanted the letter found, why wasn't the letter out in plain view instead of seemingly hidden? And just like all the other cases, the police do not have enough information to charge a suspect with a crime. Additionally, when Sarah's body was found and the connection was discovered, Sarah's mother would not volunteer her DNA. It would take a court order to forcibly get the DNA to prove the match that it was Sarah. Serial killer Larry Dwayne Hall has been speculated to be responsible for both of the girls' deaths, although it should be noted this is not an official law enforcement decision. This is more reckless speculation online, but it makes sense. He was known to travel through the area, and he would admit to killing at least 35 women and girls. He would recant this confession, and he is considered a suspect in these cases. The last guy we're going to take a look at is Robert Moore. He spent 15 years in prison for the murder of Virginia Lecorchik back in 1993. He is currently on trial for the murder of Glenna White. This is his second trial for the murder charge, and it's scheduled to resume in April of 2024. To date, no arrests have been made, no suspects have been charged in any of the murders of Fewtown Road. If you have any information which might lead to an arrest, no matter how small, you're encouraged to contact the Portage County Sheriff's Department or the FBI. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.
you.